whenever they practice a certain moment that requires some kind of stunt, everyone feels safe. There's certain precautions in place in case of anything.
Hi, everyone, and thank you for coming back to another recording of Foul Ball Safety Now Talks. I'm Jordan Skop. I'm here with Brianna Ludwig. We're in the beginning of February. Spring training is upon us. Baseball spring training. It starts out like in a couple of days in Arizona and in Florida. That's where the guys stretch out and get ready for a long baseball season on the major league level. On all the other professional levels, maybe it starts a couple of weeks later. But I want to talk about how foul ball safety now started back in 2019. I was seeing morning news. I saw a very disturbing video of a child getting hit by a ball. And I soon to learn that this could be a regular thing. I've been at it for 6.5 years, working with a guy by the name of Brendan. He's an investigative journalist. He's been really terrific. We've interviewed more than 80 people who unfortunately have been hurt by foul balls, even baseball players long after their career. We get in touch with them and they're interested in speaking about a lot and maybe even getting the monkey off their back because maybe they never really felt like they were playing the game free and clear. So that's very powerful when that comes out in the interview. I'm speaking to young athletes now, and I get a sense they would like to play the game free and clear. Their instincts as young guys is to say, yeah, I'd love to play the game free and clear. So it's not such a foreign concept that baseball players and baseball fans could actually have a baseball civilized society where we're all hitting the ball as hard as we want and fans are having a good time unconditionally and not worrying about where they park their car, how they walk into the ballpark, where they sit and how they walk out, because people can see the website and see that unfortunately people are getting hurt outside the ballpark as well. It's not uncommon in 3 hours that a lot of these 169 ballparks and college baseball fields may have balls flying out on a regular basis. And they're either going to hit the window, they're going to hit the pavement. In this case, in Modesto, it hit a lady. I'm in the middle of making things happen. That's what my goal is at Foul Ball Safety Now, is to tell as many people as possible all their experiences may be tainted to some degree because they may not have learned about somebody getting hurt that particular day, but they may find out in the same seat that they sat in 4 times a year that somebody could have been blinded day after day before or sometime in that season. That's not cool. There's thousands upon thousands upon thousands of line drives that go into seats, and people can see Exhibit A1, which is a demonstration of all the foul balls that we can demonstrate that may be part of your experience going to games in the past. So it's almost like you can retrace your steps. And then the question will beg to offer how many times were they going at that speed of crazy number, like 90 or 100? And I believe MLB knows the answer. So we would hope more people would want to get curious about all their experiences and how maybe they dodged that bullet that particular day or week in that month or that year of the times they had gone to the games several times a year. It's February. We're getting ready for the Shohei Ohtani experience in Arizona, which I think people are going to appreciate. We're going to set up something in a mall, an outdoor mall in Arizona, where people can see Shohei Ohtani. If people see on the website Foul Ball Safety Now, it's called Shohei Ohtani of Vulnerability. And when they'll see Shohei, he hit a ball down the line, and for a moment, humanity set in. He thought he may have just hurt someone. So I think that image is worth $1 billion. So we captured that image from the World Series. Shohei was hitting the ball, and he cringed like he may have just hurt a human being. So we want to get that image up. People can see it. They can take pictures of it. It will be in an outdoor mall, and we're excited to see if that becomes a conversation, and people will now then discover Foul Ball Safety Now, and then they could think about their own experiences from the past to the present and to the future. That's the update I have right now. I'm excited to bring on our guest. Brianna, how are you today?
Doing great, Jordan. I'm excited to get into this conversation and talk about everything we've been working on for the past 7 years now and what's to come. So, without further ado, I'd love to bring on our guest for today. She is pursuing and working in all things theater, comedy, and acting in New York City. Welcome, Ashley Brooke Cohen.
Hey, Ashley. How you doing today?
Hi, I'm good.
Terrific, terrific. So we're really excited. We're ready for you to lead the discussion moving forward. You were ready for us?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, just want to learn more about what I guess why Arizona for your event.
Oh, thanks for asking. It turns out that the Dodgers do their spring training in Arizona. So a lot of people from LA or a lot of people who live in that area where the Dodgers have their headquarters, there'll be a lot of Dodger fans in that village area for a couple of weeks or at least a month, month and a half. What's the name of the city, Brianna?
It's called Glendale. It's near Phoenix.
Glendale. So that's where the Dodgers do their spring training. So there'll be a lot of Dodger fans around. So when they walk around these outdoor malls, it's an opportunity so they can see the Shohei Ohtani vulnerability and they could take pictures with it or they could hashtag it, whatever. So that's exciting.
Yeah, and so I'm not really familiar with the world of sports. The most that I'm even trying to think of with spring training is I have some cousins in Florida and
Uh-huh.
they live close to it. If someone wants to watch a spring training, what's that process like?
Right. So spring training is they have games. They're just regular games. They'll probably have 30 games like they have regular games during the season, but they don't really count in the statistics. You pay admission. It's probably they're smaller ballparks like in Modesto, California, where they do have the dangers of balls flying outside and going into the parking lot and potentially hurting people and that hasn't been really rectified. So I spoke at the beginning about how bulls when you park your car, it's not a free ride, even in the parking lot, about getting away from the dangers of foul balls. There could be 15 balls within 3 hours that come outside and do serious damage to a window. They obviously come outside and hit people from time to time. Actually, 20 years ago, when I was in Brooklyn, New York, at the Cyclones game, the Brooklyn Cyclones play, named after a famous ride in Brooklyn called the Cyclone, we were outside, people young and old, and a young person we were with gets hit with a ball right in his forearm. And we didn't take him to first aid or anything like that, but it left a big mark on his arm. And we were like, where did that come from? Unfortunately, Ashley, it's unusual that you would think that a commercial establishment would allow, you know, meteors coming down or moving landmines to come and hit things and explode things, but it's just the way it is, and it ain't right. And Modesto, California, a woman was hurt. She was hit in the head. People can see the tab unknown Modesto. I was contacted by the lawyer. He said that, yeah, his client was hit outside the ballpark in spring of '23, and he was contacting us in 2025, and nobody in Modesto was alerted to that fact. We even wrote 3 letters to the Modesto newspaper, so people maybe should be walking around with some kind of umbrella at all of these ballparks. Crazy.
Yeah, and I know a lot of people when they buy tickets online, there's some terms and conditions that I guess everyone kind of scrolls past and reads through. But is there like even in the fine print some kind of warning that like okay, if you buy a ticket to this event, some situation may occur and you're like assuming liability? Is there some kind of some disclosure even when people buy tickets?
Oh, yeah, there is a disclosure, but it's always been kept before the e-tickets, there was the hard ticket, the old hard tickets, and there was some micro print on the back, but it was in micro print. It wasn't emphasized. There wasn't any regular report given out by MLB at the end of season to discuss what had happened the previous season and what they expected the next season. They kinda left all of us to figure it out for ourselves. There's an old expression, you'd rather learn about things at the kitchen table before you get to the actual event, because then you can make an informed decision But if it's in microprint or if it's hidden, those terms, yeah, it's there somewhere, but who's really finding it? If we had it in a one pager, it would have been a lot more information over the winters to discuss how last year's business as usual was done and how they expected business as usual to be done the following year. I think so much more would have been exchanged between the fans and management. The fans really never had a seat at the table to determine how business as usual should be conducted.
There is a
But
disclosure, but many people are misinformed or disillusioned by what the injuries even are. A lot of people aren't even aware of what it means to be hit by a foul ball or the extent of what's happened in baseball's history. Many people aren't even aware of the deaths or that people have been blinded, that these injuries
Agreed.
for some people have really impacted their lives in the long term. Many people are disillusioned, misinformed about how often these injuries occur. These instances don't really make news. Journalists don't want to go long form or dig deep or be investigative about how often this is happening and why the problem isn't being fixed. So, that paired with the MLB's marketing persona, which is family friendly and fun, most of the public, they see the little microprint if they even see it, and they don't really know what it means.
Right, so even like, if it's there, it's just unclear. I guess if it were up to you, like, what like, on the back of an e-ticket or a physical ticket, like, what
Mhm,
like, in plain language that I guess I mean, a one-pager
mhm.
would be a lot to read, but what kind of disclosure should there be?
Well, again, it may be above all of our pay grades to come up with exactly that language, but I think a committee is needed. And we're the three that are starting this conversation. We welcome all those people that are so called smarter than us in this area to help us figure out what would be the best appropriate information to have given the fans all of these years. I don't want to be the only one to say this is the way it needs to be done. I want to present all the information about what we may have missed and let everyone react. I have an expression, Ashley, called I want to deliver the epiphany of awareness. So all we know is what we're discussing right now. What has been done in the past? Has it been up to satisfactory standards? I think the longer we talk about it, I think the longer we may conclude that it really has not been. So what are we gonna do about it now? And we want to alert all the fans who may be so-called smarter than us in certain areas to speak up about the issue. They just never really put 2 and 2 together kind of thing. We have an opportunity to present that. So it's very exciting that we can kind of start this exchange of information, and I think from there, you know what happens when these meetings come about, Ashley? Everyone's barking out solutions, and there are solutions, and I'm just excited that we finally will address them from inside the ballpark to outside the ballpark. I can just only imagine how many architects would be salivating to get a phone call from MLB and say, "Hey guys, would you come up some renderings for us inside the ballpark? Would you come up some renderings for us for outside, so making sure balls don't come out and hit people in heads?" I just feel like none of this has ever been offered, and now we are doing that. And I think you're part of this with us, and that makes this exciting.
Even though I'm not really a sports person, the most I know
Uh-huh.
kind of about foul balls before coming into contact with you guys is that, someone with a little kid with a glove raises his hand and tries to catch a foul ball, and then everyone cheers. I don't know where that
Right,
image came from in my mind. Maybe it was like in a few TV shows or cartoons or movies.
right,
Like I can't even really name one, but I feel like that's like
right.
that image is kind of in pop culture. Do you know the origins of that or, like or h what we could do to get that image I mean, I'm sure that image still happens, but kind of have this
Sure.
that's not the only image of foul balls.
Yes. So The mythology, I guess we can go with that for the moment, is always been the romance and the going to the game and catching the ball and 10-year-olds with their gloves and older people as well who may be ready for a 100-mile-an-hour line drive. They're already in the mindset and they're prepared. They're daredevils already. But I think most of those 10 and 11-year-olds really aren't prepared to take on that 100-mile-an-hour line drive. Even the macho guys who think they may be, I don't really think they are either, even with a glove, even with staring at the pitch and the whole thing. There's an umpire, Hunter Windelstadt, he was 100 feet away. There's a home to first base is 90 feet, and then he's probably another 10 feet behind. He got one right in the middle of his head, and he hadn't been back to work since the spring. He was hurt in the spring of 2025, and he's supposed to be ready, like, more than anyone, and he didn't get out of the way. How are the other people gonna get out of the way? People off to the right, people off to the left, also maybe 100 feet away. It's not possible. But to go and how, the 3 of us are gonna spark a public relations movement on getting the imagery of the mythology, or whatever fancy words I'm using, about somehow saying, "Okay, guys, we're ready to transition into education. I think we're not gonna disappoint anyone with the expectations of catching a foul ball. Why? Because now we're gonna overly compensate all the children. There used to be X amount of balls given to kids or X amount of balls of that were caught by kids, but we're not gonna flirt with that danger anymore. Now we're gonna go for 10 times as many more baseballs per game, and they're gonna be handed out to the kids, and there's gonna be soft caught tosses with the baseball players, and they can go home with the souvenir. So we're gonna compensate, and we're gonna transition from this, we've been in the dark, and we shouldn't be playing Russian roulette with little kids, to this is how it's going to go. So all the kids who may be disappointed on day 1, day 5, they're gonna say, "Oh, look at this, look what they're doing," instead of what they used to do. That's it. And what kind of ideas are gonna come? It's only a $6 baseball. Come up with 100 more of them. That's all. Give out more baseballs and let everyone have a good baseball and take it home, that kind of thing. So, there's no shortage of those ideas.
I think that genuinely, when a child does catch a foul ball and it does not turn out bad or it doesn't hit them in the face, they actually do catch it, they are overwhelmed with joy and very happy. A lot of these kids that are into baseball, maybe it's their source of bonding with their families or with their father, et cetera, et cetera. They view their favorite athletes as their heroes per se. And we have to realize that this PR, this branding of the MLB is like 100 years old. So, Ashley, you painted the picture very well when you said you're not a baseball fan, but you had a preconceived notion of what the foul ball experience is. It's almost impossible to live in America and not have a preconceived notion of the baseball experience. And similar to you, when I first came into contact with this campaign a year and a half ago, I was not a baseball fan, but I had that image of my mind of foul balls and romanticism. And I think that that paints the picture very well of one of the hurdles of this campaign, which is like we have to undo all that, programming that's been fed to the public for over 100 years. Because when you do really get intimate with these victims and their stories and just the countless, how many of them there are and how it's impacted their life, and there's little legal recourse, and a lot of people that we know have been put through the ringer legally, financially. It's more than just physical damage. It's emotional damage and financial damage. It's very hard to repair. Yeah, that's definitely one of the hurdles, is overcoming that romanticism of the foul ball experience that so many people have, and trying to paint the picture that actually, for a lot of people, for a lot of families, that foul ball experience has been a nightmare and not a dream come true.
Yeah, I mean, like, I don't know if there should be more, I don't know, scenes and pop culture media with that, because I mean, from what I saw on your website, I mean, it could be some very graphic images of these injuries, but, maybe that's what people have to see in order to really know the severity of it. Is that I mean, I don't know if you need, like, a warning in front of some of these things, but it's I mean, or maybe that's just what's needed?
Yeah, so I'm a baseball guy, and if I have to be the effective messenger, which I guess I am, I think I'm filling a void. I really am the only one in this space that's trying to present everything that I could. I think I bring a big bit of a bedside manner. I'm a baseball guy and I'm sensitive, and I don't want to all of a sudden upset fans. There's another side to it. There's solutions, and there could be a baseball civilized society immediately, and it's not such a crazy concept. And the baseball players who I'm beginning to speak with, the younger ones, I've had 2 conferences in the last month, and these conferences bring out feelings from players themselves. They don't wanna hit the ball and hurt anybody. They wanna play the game free and clear. They're part of it. And it's not such a crazy concept that a baseball player wants to play the game free and clear. But it's now identifying that the baseball players may have been feeling this anxiety for quite some time. They may have been telling their own parents, mom and dad, you need to sit in certain sections. But the rest of us didn't get that message from the player directly. So I'm trying to bring up exactly how all sides are feeling, and I'm going to be sensitive about it. And we need to all go where the conversation needs to go. And if I can bring the epiphany of awareness to 100 million fans, or at least more than 3 of us, I'm excited because I can enlighten them about everything they may have missed, and they can decide for themselves if they felt like they were properly informed or not. And if mud on MLB's face is exposed, that's it's if that then I'm effective. They'll decide just how much mud on their face there may be. Then we know we did our job. I have to continue going because it's wonderful that these recordings are happening with like-minded people, and people are getting curious with us, and they want to be part of these conversations with us. So this is also very effective. So we'll continue going and meeting new people from their experiences. Sometimes they represent their profession on these, conversations with us. Sometimes they're just curious-minded people, maybe like yourself. But I think you're representing, Ashley, questions that haven't not been effectively asked or attempted to be asked, so we appreciate that.
Oh, definitely. I mean, I'm gonna try to make a sort of parallel. If it doesn't sound right, just let me know. But like
Sure.
in my world in theater, if there's a stunt scene or like a fight scene, there's a stunt choreographer or stunt coordinator always at rehearsals just to make sure that the actors, while they are still acting, that they have this muscle memory of safety. So whenever they practice a certain moment that requires some kind of stunt, everyone feels safe. There's certain precautions in place in case of anything. Stage managers always looking out for everyone. Does that sort of position kind of exist somewhere in the MLB sphere, I guess, like someone watching out of like I don't know if it's like a venue owner or someone in operations that looks for the safety of everything, just because, right, so the baseball players, of course, obviously everyone is concerned about safety, but just so that they really can just focus on the game and they know that someone else is sort of taking care of all the safety things, that there's like the nets are being tested. I'm not sure, but like certain things are happening. Is that even a job position anywhere?
Yeah, that's a great question. I just believe there's a major disconnect with all parts of the people that work at the facility, people who are the players on the team, the management. And the reason why I say there's a disconnect is because I'm hearing that the baseball players are feeling anxiety and they are concerned about hitting the ball because they know they're playing in a situation where there's compromised safety for the fans. And because of that, as I mentioned a minute ago, a lot of these baseball players, Brendan and I have interviewed more than 30 of them formally, guys who played the games 20, 30, 40 years ago and revisited their experiences. They would tell their own family members to sit in certain sections, but so they knew there was vulnerability for the human beings in the seats to be exposed to the line drives. They did what they could do by telling their own family, but they weren't able to get on the public address or they weren't giving out information on their own time to the fans and giving them the foresight about what was going to be during those hours. So unfortunately, I have to give them all a failing grade because collectively, the job is still upon them to make this a safe reality for everyone. So I believe going into 2026, I certainly am going to continue identifying what I believe is unsatisfactory workplace environment for the players and certainly unsatisfactory experience for the fans because the illusions of romance are still prevailing instead of fans being prepared at the kitchen table about what can be in that particular time of their experience going to the game, parking the car, or going inside, because it's inside and outside. It really is a flawed society. And as I go and speak with people, they'll tell me just how effed up it may be. And that's fine because I'm just the messenger, right? I want to try to portray what I can present accurately. And then if you're hearing this for the first time, you're then going to potentially take it a step further. I'm saying fires in the theater, inside and out. If you want to say really, really hot fire in a theater, well, that's your call. I want you to be presented what I know. And that's what I do. We need work. We need to do things. There's fires in theaters, inside and outside, all throughout professional baseball. And I'm learning now about the colleges as well. People can go to Queens College Investigation under the website of Foul Ball Safety Now. I'm following up. Fifth letter to the Queens College administration because a student athlete said to me, "Hey, Jordan, Google Earth Queens College." And of course I did. He says, "You'll notice it's an elementary school outside, and we're hitting balls in practices and games, and we're worried we're going to do some serious damage to them." I said, "Well, that's legitimate. Your psychological well-being is being messed up. And according to the NCAA, you'll find somewhere in rules and regulations that student athletes have to play the games where their psychological well-being is not messed up or the psychological well-being needs to be adhered to." Another fancy way of putting it. And it's not. When student athletes are facing these situations, it's not healthy. And I'm glad they're expressing themselves. And that's what I invite all athletes to do is finally express themselves because they'll feel better. They want to play the game free and clear. They're human beings. They don't want to hurt anybody. Unfortunately, their legacy is in the middle of continuing the compromise that I think all professional athletes have passed on to the next generation, which has been a very flawed players society, if you ask me. But, this is just stuff that I've absorbed over the months and years that I'm doing this. So it's exciting that I'm learning things and having an opportunity to present. This is upsetting. I know what I hear. I'm hearing the testimonials from the players. And fifth letter to the Queens College. So we did get a response from the NCAA, and I'm gonna look more into how all colleges are operating and why they would have compromised safety outside their ballparks where people may be getting hit on campus. So that's a whole new door. We're gonna look into that too. But, I got a newspaper article in the Queens College newspaper and after letter number 4, and at least they're paying attention to it. but also White House, Tennessee. Believe it or not, there is a place called White House, Tennessee, folks. Yes, and a booster from that city called me, and he said, "Hey, Jordan, we can't have soccer games going on while baseball games are going on. Can you help us?" And I wrote him back, and I was like, "I'm glad you guys are at least talking about it. That's a good start." 'Cause there's probably a lot of compromised local fields all over the United States that have some issues.
I mean, it's just amazing that student athletes are approaching you, that the, baseball players themselves, either in college or professional, are coming forward. I'm not exactly sure. I was gonna ask if there's some sort of, like,
Course.
MLB union or like a workplace compliance,
Yeah.
department. I'm not really sure, but, like, where the players can sort of unionize or come together to petition the higher ups to make these changes. Is that I'm not really sure like the structure
Sure.
of that, but is there something like that that could
Great
potentially
question,
happen?
great question. I'm glad you asked that because, I haven't been putting as much emphasis on the players' union as I think I should be, because they have something called collective bargaining every 4 years, and that's for certain things and what the expectations are and money and all of that, and supposedly 3 times in collective bargaining, the players' union brought up the fact and so we're going back 15, 20 years. They brought up the fact that we need more netting. But why did the players union just say, "Our union members aren't gonna be hitting balls towards kids anymore. End of story." Almost like saying like it's a non-starter. And for whatever reasons, I would love for one of the union representatives to get in touch with me and share with me exactly what was presented, because in my mind, it falls short, Ashley, because they should have demanded it as a non-starter kind of thing. Like, no, nets will be in effect, and there will be an independent netting council to tell all of our members that they can now hit the ball as hard as they want and be carefree about the whole experience. But they didn't do that. I don't wanna hear tokenism, and they brought it up, and then the union and then the owners rejected it. They coulda just said, "Our rank and file isn't going to work and hitting balls at kids anymore." But I'm glad you asked that. Thank you for bringing that up. So, to be determined on how much aspersions are needed to go towards the union until they show their hand, but I have a feeling they're almost on the same page as MLB or maybe equally accountable for not stepping up. So we'll see. But I'm glad that inquiring minds wanna know, so great question.
Oh, yeah, it's just I guess it's just because coming from the entertainment industry where things of course happen, but, most productions, I say, have safety as the number one thing, so I'm still sort of trying to wrap my mind around how a company, uh, a production company operations, sector of a business, knows that there's a danger and purposely doesn't do anything. I'm still sort of trying to even rationalize that because it sounds like the solutions you're presenting are very doable. Is it does it cost that much to put up a net? Like, monetarily cost that much?
No, no, it's not whether it would be 40,000, 120,000, 220,000. We're talking about billions of dollars. They pay the affiliates. They pay 120 it's 30 MLB clubs. They pay and if they ever got their house in order, they certainly can get the other 120 houses in order because they're paying the salaries of those 120 local cities all over the country, Modesto, California, where architects are there. They're there to draw renderings and come up with plans. Just give them that task, and guess what would come? We would have these beautiful renderings, exactly how a baseball civilized society would look. It just hasn't happened yet. And it's not the money. Of course, it's not the money. It's maybe going down the rabbit hole on a legal question, whether they knew all this information back when, and maybe appropriate steps should have been taken at that time. I think their delay tactics by doing some piecemeal improvements is telling the fans that they're taking steps, but it's internal. It's not the architects and the renderings. It's internal. It's somebody who's wearing some hat inside MLB who's calling up some netting company and saying, put up the nets to this degree. Until they tell me otherwise, I don't think there's any science behind any of the upgrades, because Brianna and I are still discovering so many people self-reporting their injuries in 2025 just on the major league level. So we can only imagine 5 times as many more games going on in Middle America and all these little romantic towns where everyone wants to go see minor league baseball. That's a big thing. 30 to 40 million people check out minor league baseball every year. There's 5 times as many more games in these professional cities than there are in MLB.
I guess it's like a building needs to have fire exits or like some kind of fire code in
Mhm.
case of an emergency. It's just
Uh-huh.
even like when the architect, I mean, I'm not blaming the architects or the
Yes.
engineers of this exactly, but I
Mm.
guess I'm just like, why isn't there like some higher up building code? I know some stadiums are outside, but I guess
Right.
but just some kind of, I don't know what a
Like a
government office would be called, but
regulation, some kind of
yeah.
regulation that there's some oversight. No, there's not. How about that? Crazy. But until they show us who's part of their internal thought process on what's going up, it's incomplete, it's not done, and there's gonna continue to be smashes and serious injuries, and we're sorry that that's the case, but it is. But I think in the very near future, by us talking about this, we're gonna get enough people that are gonna be dedicated to knowing. Brianna will know exactly when it's time to park in any of these ballparks parking lots and bring her baby, and that would be the time when I know that we did what we needed to do. She won't have any concerns other whether the kid has a nice jacket on, keep him warm. That should be the only concern of any parent, and I think most people would agree with that. So the more people we talk to and the more insights we get, it's exciting, and people are attaching themselves to these conversations, which will be heard, and we're looking forward to, more guests like you. We will continue talking and give you updates about what I'm maybe up to this week and making good noise. So we'll see.
I mean, you did cover a lot. I do hope that we get more information about what went wrong in that collective bargaining thing and what
Mhm.
could be made better. I'm not sure
Mhm.
how much of
Yeah,
that
I
can
have no
be made
idea.
public, but
Yeah, oh, please make it public because I believe that I don't think it was earnest. I don't think baseball players union fought at all over it because their union members are feeling it. They're experiencing probably bad feelings after they may have hurt someone. I don't really call out the individual, it's collectively. So those players that are very sad after they've hurt someone, I would hope the team psychologist is in their ear that night and saying something like, "Hey, man, it could have been any one of us." But and if they weren't, then that's even worse for the player that he's left alone to deal with that. So, unfortunately, it's been passed on from generation to generation, this culture of silence amongst the baseball players, in my mind. Yeah, so I'm out for the mental health of the athlete. I don't want them to internalize. They've sort of been indoctrinated into this culture of silence. And now that players are speaking up at these small meetings, and Brendan and I already have interviewed more than 30 baseball players, we're getting record. We're getting good information, hearing all things about this issue. And we'll continue to do so. And I think this is a great recording.
I really do hope that more people or whoever is out there, whoever you meet at your showy exhibit, I
Yes,
think it
we'll get
really is
some
the
pictures.
image.
We wanna show the humanity even set in with Shohei, the face of baseball for a moment. He thought he hurt a human being. We want people to see that image, and maybe we'll have something that explained it was part of the World Series and the world and the announcer even made, like, a snide remark, something like, "Shohei sends his apologies down the lines to anyone he may have just scared," something like that. So, we're just gonna try to get that whole message in. Unfortunately, it all blends in. People aren't really making comments on it on social. There was a bat that flew over the net in Seattle. People can see the website. foul ball safety now. Why are broken bats flying over nets in Seattle in the playoffs in 2025 that could potentially spear your neck or heart? And then even the announcer saying when they were showing it on replay going into commercial, he even said, "Yikes, look out." And nobody on social media put two and two together. Didn't anyone see that Mr. Mayhem commercial from Allstate? They've been showing that commercial like a billion times. The Allstate Mayhem guy, he throws the bat over the park fence and it goes into the window of the car. And anyone who's listening probably have seen that commercial because they're constantly showing it even during the football season. Up until last week, I saw it. So that's been in people's minds. And not one person on social media, even after they showed the bat coming into the seats, broken bat coming into the seats, slow motion, not one person said anything because it all blends in with the excitement, Ashley. Nobody's putting two and two together. But obviously, broken bats have no business flying into seats in 2025. Somebody who's controlling the setup of the protection of the fans clearly has not been doing it. And I think renderings from architects and ideas brought in by people that wanna bring in their expertise, all that stuff would be a thing of the past. So, these exciting talks are great, and we really appreciate you being part of this with us.
I guess I just hope that in your I keep calling it an event, but I just hope that in your I guess event in Arizona that people do post on social media. It might be a weird thing to post on social media, but if there's a way to them to get I don't know if you have a certain hashtag that you want
Yes, we'll
kind
do
of
all of that.
going.
It'll be set up for 7 days. We're working on those details as we speak, so it'll be fun.
Okay,
We'll see
I'll be
how it
on the
goes.
lookout
Yeah,
for it. I hope it reaches
we'll
my
let you
For You
know.
page.
We'll let you know for sure. Great.
Yeah, Ashley, as a performer, you understand how vital audience energy is to entertainment. It's a huge part of the experience when you're at anything that's live. Do you think that baseball relies on audience immersion? And do you think that some of the more diehard fans that have this desire to feel they are a part of the game makes safety harder to address?
That's a really, really great question because I know it is sort of strange to say that baseball players are similar to actors because, of course, baseball players are not acting. They are in the thick of it. They really are doing the things that they're doing. But it is with that audience watching them live, there is this energy that happens. I know when I do some stand up performances, it's if the audience is not really paying attention it kind of is a little hard to stay focused, and if the audience is in it and they're paying attention, laughing along, and then it's just the performance itself kind of gets better, and the energy kind of feeds off of itself, and it could either get exponentially good or exponentially bad depending on the audience. Sometimes it's not never the audience's fault, but if a comedy thing. I could go on about that. But it is very interesting, I guess, because this is also going to be another very strange example, but like if you're at SeaWorld, there's a splash zone and it's clearly marked seats. If you sit here, you might get wet. You may or may not, but it's like you're prepared, you're mentally ready if you get splashed or not. And even with that, it's a sort of a show, it's a performance in a way there. And in just regular theater, it's people are excited. They're in it. A lot of people come up to me, well, like, when I tell them that I'm an actor, they're like, "Oh, I can never perform on stage. That's amazing that I do it." Because they just, for whatever reason, stage fright or otherwise, just can't feel it. So to sort of have that vicarious thing of they're in the audience watching people do things that, for whatever reason, they feel themselves they can't do, like, I guess, the people watching baseball players. Who knows why, all the reasons why people watch baseball players live, but if it is this sort of effect of like, "Wow, I'm in it," I'm like, while like, I'm sitting in my chair, I'm not the one running and things, it's like I'm basically there, like, the emotion is so visceral, and I don't think a net dividing the I guess the audience from the baseball players. I don't I mean, I'm sure you could see through a net, I think. I mean, clearly, enough where you still have that visceral energy of watching the players live, and while a net can it is a divider, but it shouldn't divide the energy felt. I mean, there should be some other ideas, like what Jordan was saying before. Baseball is $6 if, someone wants to raffle it, instead of, or, like, maybe, like, a very I don't there's T-shirt cannons, then I don't know the safety ethics of T-shirt cannons, but or like throwing a T-shirt in the audience or something that isn't a ball at 100 miles per hour. I'm sure there's ways to
There's
keep that interaction.
plenty of ideas that will come over and over and over and over, and we're just spitballing a few. Wait till it's presented, and I think we'll have a lot of solutions for compensations. Netting isn't really a major issue in visibility, for people. I think it's an illusion that it's a deterrent. But I think this was really exciting. I think if we had more time, we would probably start from where we're leaving off right now, and we would address it from those angles. And I think you brought some great points up, Ashley, and we're just effectively starting a conversation here and from all angles. So we want to thank you. I think this is really super.